I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heavenly Father, we are thankful to gather here this evening. Help us to do your will. Help us to use your wisdom. Help us to act wisely and prudently for our residents, for the city. We're thankful for our staff, for the council, the mayor here, for our citizens that are here and watching at home. We ask that you would bless us all. We are thankful for the continued rain and snow. Again, we ask that we would have a slow melt this spring and summer. We also ask that you would bless our first responders, our sheriffs, deputies, our fire personnel, our military here in our nation and abroad that are keeping us protected. And we are thankful this week to celebrate your Holy Week and to celebrate what you did for us on the cross. And we lift up these prayers to you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Todd. I'll move on to approval of the agenda and disclosure of disclosures and declaration of conflict by council members and the mayor. So we'll start with the agenda. Are we good?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second. Motion and a second under discussion on the agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone having conflicts, disclosures to be made this evening? All right, let's move on. Consent agenda, review and possible approval of meeting minutes from March 1st, 2023 regular business meeting and March 15th, 2023 regular business meeting. Everybody had time to look at those minutes and approve them? They look good? All right, need a motion?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
All right, enter discussion on the meeting minutes. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we'll get right into city department reports. First off, I'd like to excuse Ash Creek. They had some stuff going on today and they didn't have much to report. Things are progressing with the Confluence Park. So we're going to move from that to Hurricane Valley Fire. Merlin, you're up.
Okay, just a couple things. Call volume last month for March, we had a total of 13 calls in the Tocqueville area. Looks like all of them were medical. We stayed away from fire, so that was good. But I can't grant that probably in the next couple of months with all the vegetation stuff going, especially once we get this warm up. So just encourage everybody to get a date when they get all their stuff cleaned up and burned before the burn season's over while we're still a little cool. I think we might get a few days where everything should dry out and have that chance to burn some piles and stuff, clean up around your places. So it's pretty much what I've got. We're just keep going. So
All right.
I've had about 12 calls already today, so I may have to leave. So it's a good place to be here. Guess I have to
Okay.
get out the back door.
Back
So,
door.
yeah.
Okay, thanks, Merlin. All right, we're going to move to our city manager, Afton.
All right. First up is the financial report. We've received 90% of the revenue for the year. We've expended 84% of the budget. So our spending's on track. We're going to be having a public hearing for the budget at the next city council meeting. So we'll public notice that and get that out. The next thing is just on the roads and projects that we have ongoing. Obviously, we're going to give an update on the Tocqueville Parkway and that Phase A is under construction currently. And then we also have the Ash Creek Pipeline. We're working on that project still. That's ongoing. We're working on that project up in Anderson Junction for installing culinary water lines. Then we have the Westfield Park moving forward. We're going to have a mandatory pre-bid meeting on April 11th up at the park. And then on April 18th here at 2 p.m., we will award that contract. The plans can be picked up from Alpha Engineering if anybody wants to get that. So, yep, exactly. Yeah, award it. We'll open the bids on the 18th. And then, go through those. So that should be really exciting to start seeing that project moving forward. And then two other things we want to talk about. First of all, InfoWest, thank you for coming today. We are have had the franchise agreement in front of council before. Heath has had an opportunity to go through that. So we are looking forward to entering into a franchise agreement with them. So you'll see that up for a vote. So I don't know if you have anything you wanted to add to
No,
that.
other than I think we
real
probably
quick,
need
but-
to sit down. I indicated them, I will send them over a red line we need to go through. I've compared it to the other franchise agreements. It's not on the agenda
Yeah.
for tonight. It'll need to be.
Part of my report, but yeah.
Yeah, I thought about it when I saw them. I looked back at our agenda and that's why I told Afton, I said, it's not on tonight's agenda, but it'll be on next meeting's agenda, assuming that they're fine with the changes, and all the changes that I'm suggesting is to bring it more in line with the existing franchise agreements that we have. It's pretty close. There's nothing really substantial, and I don't think that they would have objection to. It's just so that we don't have a lot of differences between the one we have with TDS, for instance, or anything like that. So.
Yeah, so you'll see that come before you for a vote. And then the other thing we wanted to address is that the council, we just wanted to kind of make everybody aware that we're going to start having legal counsel at Planning Commission so that we can keep those meetings moving. And so that what we're finding is that as things are coming through, whether they're ordinances or things like that, and Planning Commission's trying to work through those, what's happening is we're either having some items tabled or we're having to go back for clarification. And we're having to spend the time and obviously the money to then coordinate with legal counsel and get answers from that, and then coming back. And if it ends up taking longer for review, then it misses that. We're finding that a lot of these things can just be addressed at the time if we have legal counsel there. So from a budgeting standpoint, it makes lots more sense to have legal counsel there. So I've talked to the mayor about that. So we will start having Attorney Snow go to Planning Commission. And that was, yeah, that's it basically on there. I'm sure you'll just go through the events at the end. The one thing that on there we will just say is that the time is not on there for the Easter egg hunt, but the teens are going to start at 9:30 searching for the golden egg for $100. It was super fun last year. And then the 10 o'clock is for the Easter egg hunt for the kids. So keep an eye out. That's all.
All right, thank you. Attorney Snow, do you have?
Yeah, just one other thing that the city manager didn't cover. We've had a meeting with Washington County, in particular the county attorney's office, and we are moving forward with the process of looking at entering into an interlocal agreement with Washington County to utilize their justice court. And in doing so, we have to provide our own prosecutor. And we also have to have available a public defender if someone meets the criteria that are entitled to have a public defender represent them. I have gone forward and prepared a request for proposals. And I know that Eric Clark, the county attorney, has already circulated that. I fielded 2 calls from deputy county attorneys today saying, I'm interested, and they all want to moonlight and earn a little money on the side. And I don't think, normally what they will do is that the justice court will schedule, like in an afternoon, one day, that they'll put all of the Tokerville matters on for like a 1 hour period, and the prosecutor can be there and they'll call all the different matters and do it. But we have to retain our prosecutor, and I've put in the RFP that one of the things they're going to do is propose a per case flat fee. We talked with Eric about whether it would be good to do hourly, and both of the 2 that I spoke with today said they thought that might be an incentive for someone to bill more than what was necessary. And county attorneys don't like keeping track of their time. So they like flat fee. And so that's the way I think we're going to position the request for proposal. And we're going to also ask them to give us a one-time flat fee proposal to review our ordinances and suggest which ones are best suited to be classified as either an infraction or up to a Class B misdemeanor, so they can all be handled in justice court. So that's the update I have.
Do we incur any security costs?
No security costs. The interlocal agreement says that right now, they're doing all of the prosecuting and using their justice court, and they're keeping all the revenue. Under this new agreement, we get half of the fee and fine revenue, but we provide our prosecutor. But what that allows us to do is prosecute all of our city code enforcement issues. It may come out to be that it's a wash, but their portion of the revenue that they get covers all the expense, the utilities, staffing, clerks, court security, judges, all of their things. So it's actually quite a pretty good arrangement. It's the same thing that several of the smaller municipalities have with the county.
Anything else?
Nope, that's it.
Riker?
Planning staff has currently been working on a few different ordinances and going through our code to update some of our applications so that they line up better with our code, just as needed. After that, done.
I think that's pretty much it.
Get codes cleaned up and old stuff straightened out and reworded, make it a little bit simpler, more simple on all the applications and stuff.
And it's mostly the simple things.
Yeah.
It's not the real.
Right.
Ordinances, so.
Mr. Mayor, can I ask Afton, can I go back, ask Afton a couple quick questions? if we
Sure.
have time? Do we have an update on the TRE Scout project?
TRE Scout project, are you talking about the Frisbee golf? He hasn't come in to do one, but we've put in the pads and we've put those in. The signs are over at Rainbow Sign and Banner. Those had to run through. We actually sent them through Rainbow Sign and Banner so that they would match City of St. George's, which match like the Southern Utah Disc Golf Association and all of that, rather than just trying to create one. So they already had that sign. So that's kind of the update. The pads are in, the baskets are in. We're
But
waiting
nothing's
on the
been done
sign.
For a while.
Yeah, because we're just waiting on the signs to be
Okay.
printed.
And then,
He'll come in and he'll actually take all the pictures and he'll come in and do his Eagle Scout presentation.
okay.
And he wants his driver's license at the end of it. So he's moving it along.
Do we have a code enforcement officer yet?
We're working on criminalizing the code first.
First, okay.
Yep. And we talked about that would be like 90 days, roughly when I asked the timeline, like about 90 days
All right.
is where we are on that.
Okay, and then so then along with that, we're still working on the animal regulation.
So just to give a quick update on that, kind of where Heath was talking about, we're looking at doing our top like 5 to 10 violations first. We're looking at the code and criminalizing those elements of it that we identified the other day, and Darren and Riker and I met, and we identified some of the first ones that we wanted to do was the vicious dogs, obviously, the lighting ordinance, short-term rentals, and then,
Businesses, operation of businesses
then-
without license.
yeah, exactly, similar to that one. So we've already identified those that we're going to be working through first, and then once we go through those, so that's where we're going to start with those that we get the most calls for. So, yeah.
Nothing else? All right, well, we're going to finish with our reports here and move on to public forum. This is time that anyone from the public can get up and bring up topics that are not on our business items. So, when you have 3 minutes, please state your name and your address.
Good evening. My name is Dean Haymore. I live at 2180 South Sunshine Lane in the great city of Torkerville. Gentlemen, tonight I'm going to address you a little bit different. I'm here to talk about item 4 with the zoning change, where
Well,
you can't talk about that.
this is not a public hearing for this item. This is for any other complaints or any other items that you'd like to talk about in the city.
Okay, am I going to get a time to talk about item 4?
Well, this city, that's where we've got some more discussion to have, but really, that's not a public hearing. We don't listen to that. That's what's come before if you want to answer.
Yeah,
that.
so just to clarify, the public hearing on this item was held at Planning Commission. And so this item will not be a public hearing tonight. So if you would like to speak about anything that's not on the agenda for 3 minutes, we can start the
Okay.
timer and go there.
Okay, sorry for my confusion on that. Usually when you have something up to be voted on, you can voice your opinion.
To that.
It's a public hearing at the Planning
So-
Commission level.
So one thing, to help you out, I was in government for 30 years doing all of this, what these people are doing and what you are doing. And I appreciate your service and everything else. Once with the district attorney on your zoning ordinances and stuff, we always had what the penalty is right at the end of the zoning ordinance. So there's no confusion. The If it's a felony or not a felony, then you could put it right on there, and every zoning ordinance should have that, so it's very clear. And then they can't come back and say, when you have an enforcement officer, I was in charge of all of that for our county. The other thing is, I just want to let you know that the decisions you guys make affect what has been happening for thousands of years and thousands of years with our community. To retain the beauty that we have in our community and your legacy from your family of those decisions that you made. Also, the decisions of protecting the things around you. Would you like it to stay and you enjoy your quality of life where you live and retire? That's why I worked 30 years in government. I came here, I found a community that I thought was great, and it is great. And I wanted to retire here and enjoy the beauty that we have and protect that beauty that we have. I also let you know that there's other avenues through the Farm Bill, through the federal government, that can be utilized to pay fair market value on areas that should be protected. And then it is put in receivership to protect that for the rest of the time. So I just let you know there's those avenues out there that you can use to help you make some of those decisions. And I ask you to make them consciously in your heart. What you do will affect you, me, and generations to come.
Thanks, Dean.
Thank you.
You're good.
Sorry, guys.
All right, anybody else would like to get up to the public forum?
Of course.
Thank you. My name is Ray Dutz. I'm at 370 West Shangri-La. And all I want to mention, and I've mentioned this before, is that as Dean talked about, we live in a community. I understand the concept of people get to do what they want to do with their property. And that's great. But the fact is sometimes that affects other people's property and the value of that property. The discussion's been coming up and is circulating about RV parks here in Toquerville. Southern California is having problems with RV parks, homeless, I've mentioned that, drugs. We don't want those in our neighborhood. We want them out by the freeway. If you're going to put them out by the freeway. If you want to put them by your house, put them by your house, but don't put them by other people. Let us stay residential, okay? And I think anybody, that's why we moved here. We moved here to be residential. And I mean, find something else that's suitable, but like Walmart's even now not letting people stay there because of the problems they have out in their parking lots. So it seems to be that is where things are going in this country. And there's going to be more homeless, more drug deals. We're starting to see a little bit of that in our neighborhood now, and with some things that are going on, and we just don't want any more. So whatever you're coming up with your RV ordinances and all, please keep them out by the freeway like we were told it was going to be, and don't put them in our neighborhoods. So thank you.
Thanks, Ray.
Mark. Shangri-La. Seems like you guys do business and you conduct it behind closed doors, private internet meetings, phone calls, and things that do not, include the public. And one thing that I have objected to is the elimination of our First Amendment rights. And I'm going to hold all of you accountable for it. And you take and do this stuff time and time again and act like a communist state. You are totally diametrically opposed to everything that has made America, that is the people, it's for the people. And as again, right here in your little thing, established Toquerville, 1858, it's the people. You guys better start minding the people. You stop having your little inside little meetings. If you have phone calls with anybody, you make it public agenda. And right now, I call for it. I want the information. I want the file on every bit of communication you guys have had for the last 5 years on anything and everything to do with this proposed parkway, the Shangri-La intrusion, and actually disrespecting our God's creation of the Confluence Park area of Ash Creek and Laverican Creek, and destroying potentially a gift of beauty from our Creator. And all this inside stuff's got to stop. And when you freaking take away my First Amendment rights, I want to nail you on it. You're gonna have action, and you're gonna have to be accountable. And I also want your oaths of office on all of you. And I want to also, you guys come down and communicate with me. If you're communicating with anybody on anything about any of these parcels in Shangri-La or the highway, you come talk to me. Come down and communicate with me and my wife, Karen. So Mark and Karen, with anybody else that lives in the canyon, and you have a personal conversation with us. And this freaking deal of having these little meetings, that's a big charade. And you have attorneys that shouldn't even be sitting on the freaking town council board. They're not elected. So I want your oath of office. I want your anyhow, all of your other freaking insurances and everything else you have. That's it.
Anybody else have anything they would like to comment at this time? All right, we're going to move out of our public forum and move into our business item F1. Discussion of possible action award of the Tocqueville Parkway Project Phase B. Perfect.
This is the final connection of the parkway. We bid it out in, November?
October.
October, oh my goodness. I attended Transportation Commission 2 weeks, I don't remember the day. They approved the funds and set those aside for us. However, the city has not received the payment agreement or the fund transfer agreement. So I don't feel that it's prudent to award this until we understand how the funds are going to be transferred to the city so that our contracts can revolve around that as well. So Mayor, I think probably the action would be to table this item at this point. Bruce, Heath?
Yeah.
I think that'd be prudent.
If you're ready for a motion.
Yes,
Mayor,
absolutely.
I move that we table item F1.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a couple seconds. Any more discussion on item 1? All right, all in favor to table item 1?
Aye.
All right. Item 2, discussion and possible action on grading plan for Tocqueville Parkway bid package B. Ty, I think you want to address this one as well?
I was the one who struggled with this last time. I didn't understand what was going on. Shame on me.
Okay.
So this gives us an ability, we don't have in our policies and procedures, is that right term?
The grading
Correct.
permit,
We
yeah.
don't have a way to take dirt from a public project and put it on private ground. And so this allowed us the option to do that. So that excess dirt that's coming off of the parkway, we have a place that we can dump it without them having to go through a full-blown subdivision. They can provide a grading plan, work through the processes of the city, pay all their fees, but we can place the dirt on that project. So that's what it was for. And at the time this came up, there was a lot of other discussion along with it.
Our ordinance in our grading plan, it indicates that there is an exception to all of the requirements for grading permits for city projects with the approval of the council. And so if the council wants to approve it, then it would be left to staff to review. We'll make the property owner go through the process of, and I think they have submitted a plan on how it will be. We will have our contractor put it across their property and they'll need to bond and do everything else. It's just a way of the city getting rid of all the excess dirt that will be accumulated from the Parkway project.
Okay. Anybody have any questions on this?
I'll make a motion to approve business item F2 as staff seems fit.
I have a motion and a second. Any more further discussion on this item? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion carries. Item F3, discuss and possible action on substantial completion date adjustment for Tocqueville Parkway Phase A.
I can take this one as well, Mayor. We,
Right.
The original plan was to have this, I think our date was December 17th. Because of multiple reasons, the manholes and a lot of other issues that push us out of the paving window. So we've reworked that completion date to June
June 1st.
June 1st. And so this is for the council to approve that adjustment to the contract.
Yeah, we've been through, I think we'd sat down and discussed this in January. And this is just taking this long to get through legal, and the contractor had to also agree to it. So we're all on the same page. So this is just kind of a formality. Anyway, so yeah, so June 1st, 2024. Let's just make sure we know what's going to happen this year. So
Wait a minute. I think we skipped it.
Oh, sorry, 2023.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Checking you guys.
Is that a joke?
2023.
Yes, it was.
So we're going to finish that up this June. Anyways,
That's what the proposed completion
Right.
date is at this
Perfect.
point.
all right.
Are you ready for motion?
I am, absolutely.
Mayor, I move that we approve business item F3, adjusting the substantial completion date to June 1st, 2023 on the Parkway Phase A.
Have a motion.
Second.
I have a second. Any other discussion on this item? All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Motion is approved. All right. Item 4, discuss a possible action, a zone change application submitted by Bob Litchfield. We have all the tax ID numbers. We talked about this last meeting we had. We tabled this item. Our planning and zoning committee gave us recommendation that they would approve the zone change conditional on making everything conform to the MU20, what it calls out for in our ordinance. So, questions?
Well, Mayor, I think there's ways to be done on this. We
Yep.
probably ought to have reports on
Yeah.
those.
Yeah, we can start with Attorney Snow. You were going to give us some definitions.
Yeah, I did the research that was requested of the council, and one of the primary question was whether or not the language in the permitted use section of the MU20 zone, where it says single-family dwellings and it uses the term dwellings plural, whether that meant that there could be multiple dwellings on inside of a 20-acre piece of land. I did the research, and it's pretty clear. The zone, the way that it is, that chapter is structured is just like our residential zone. We have minimum size requirements for each lot. We define a lot as being a lot within a subdivision or a parcel that's capable of being builded upon. And the minimum size requirement for an MU20 zoned lot is 20 acres. Clearly, under the permitted uses, it says that you can have single-family dwellings. Single-family dwelling is defined as a detached building arranged and designed for and used for and occupied by not more than one family, which building has not less than one kitchen and one bathroom. So it's important to understand that it doesn't say that a permitted use is a multiple family dwelling, and it doesn't say that it's just a dwelling. It says that it has to be a single family dwelling. What is interesting is that the definition of dwelling in our ordinance clearly says that it's a building or a portion of a building designed for residential occupancy. It clearly specifically says that a dwelling is not a hotel, motel, tents, trailers, mobile homes, mobile home parks, motor courts, or similar structures. But of what is most important to understand is the definition of lot. And like I said, it is a lot is defined as a buildable parcel within a platted subdivision or just a meets and bounds parcel. But the last sentence of our definition is pretty clear. It says, except as provided in this title, not more than one dwelling may occupy one lot. So if you think about that, we have the same plural version of single-family dwellings in our R112 zone, in our R115, our R120. Can you imagine putting multiple single-family detached dwellings on a 12,000 square foot lot? It's just not, and what's clarified by that is the definition of lot that clearly says that you can only, no more than one dwelling may occupy one lot. So the answer to the question in that regard is that you can't have multiple dwellings. So as the Planning Commission had thoughtfully recommended, as long, if the council was inclined to approve the application, I would suggest that the condition be that they need to make the property comply with the minimum requirements of the MU20 zone, meaning that they would need to combine or merge some of these lots so that they are, all the lots are at least 20 acres in size. That's the minimum size requirement. And if any, by doing that reconfiguration, if there are any of those lots that have more than one dwelling on it, one would need to be removed. And if they're willing to agree to those terms, then I think it can meet the requirements. But those would need to be compliant. So I also did do some research into when these properties were zoned R120, and it was done at the time that the rest of the Litchfield property received MU, or yeah, when they received the MU, or excuse me, the highway commercial zoning that they have right now. And so, yes, it would be going back to, but the zone that they have was not put upon them. It was done with their acknowledgement and consent, so.
Questions? Yes, Ty.
I think we asked staff, there was some concern about how many dwellings were actually in consideration for that, because I know we took total acreage trying to figure that out. Did staff have an opportunity to go identify
The
that?
applicant submitted, right? The applicant submitted, so if you're okay with that, I didn't make it in your SharePoint package.
Oh,
submitted it
yeah.
Right now.
It was one of the things we
And so she
talked.
just barely added it. It was
Perfect.
submitted just barely, so.
Yeah, let's pull it up and look at it.
And I think the applicants are four, or
So there's a total of 5 homes there now, and we've got roughly 95 acres. So we need to take out 2 properties, 2 homes, or there's a property, so if you go to, so that home will be, so we're actually, so to make this work, if we take out parcel number T-150-A-2-B-1, which is one of those. No, it's not right there. That has 2 homes on it. That's the home that has the gym and the guest house and the main, what the Litchfield's called the main house. So that's a 5-acre parcel. That would bring us down to 98, roughly 90 acres, and leave us with 3 homes. So if we can take out that parcel right there in the application and make the remaining parcels MU20, obviously they have to meet we have to have them surveyed and meet 20-acre minimum for those, but that should satisfy the requirements.
So I have one question. Are you still planning on combining all the rest of them into one lot?
Probably so.
So that contradicts what Keith just told you. You can only have 1 home per 20-acre lot.
Oh, okay, so we need to have, we still would have enough land to do. We just have to have 3 different parcels.
Yeah, you'd have to have 3 different parcels, at least 20 in size, 1 dwelling on each one. And under the ordinance that we're processing for lot mergers, in a meets and bounds legal description where this isn't in a platted subdivision, the merger can occur by a simple record of survey approved by the city.
Yep.
So then Heath, the other thing is, we have tried pretty hard throughout the city, trying to keep in accordance with it. I mean, we're in essence taking a parcel that's roughly, I don't know if it's in the middle, but it's kind of in the middle of what would end up being all MU20, then being left with R120, right?
Yeah. I will tell you, It used to be in the land management code up until about 6 years ago, there was an express prohibition against rezoning property, which would create a landlocked island or peninsula. And it was a way that the legislature tried to codify no spot zoning. That intentionally was removed about 6 years ago. And it's pretty clear now that that is not, I mean, in concept, from a planning concept, that's a good thought in general, but there are oftentimes many situations. And so the legislature was convinced about 6 years ago that that needed to be eliminated, and it is. So we're not statutorily prohibited from from not approving a zone change that would create as a result an island or a peninsula. You can do it, I guess is my short answer.
Yeah, just for clarification for staff, how would that work where the contiguous lots ordinance is not in place yet? It's at the planning commission level.
Yeah, we don't have a lot of clarity on how it's to be done. We're simply saying in lots in a platted subdivision, to combine them, you have to do it by a plat amendment.
Right.
And a meets and bounds, to do it by a record of survey. I think we have a very clear pending ordinance we would just simply ask the applicant to comply with our pending ordinance.
Is that the one that Stacy's been, what?
Yeah, he's been advocating. We've put it into a form. Because these parcels are not in a platted subdivision, there isn't a need to amend the plat. You can simply go and have a surveyor go out there, do a record of survey, create legal descriptions for each of the parcels that have to be at least 20 acres. And we would probably want that record of survey to also show the dwellings.
Yeah.
So that staff can clearly say, okay, one dwelling on 1 20-acre parcel.
And then that record of survey will be filed at the county.
Yeah, it has to be recorded with the
and
county.
those deeds. So before it finalizes.
So there's only four of them in that folder?
There will only be
Three homes.
Three homes, because last time it was like 7, wasn't it?
No,
6 or 7?
there was 5 last night.
5?
And
Yeah.
he's
removing-
he's reducing the scope of his zone change request from 95 to 90 acres, and which cuts out 2 of the dwellings.
This one right here.
The second.
This one has 2 homes on it.
What's the second one on the bottom of those? Yeah. Okay, any other questions, any other discussions? What are we?
So well, go ahead, Gary, sorry. We're looking at changing an ordinance, but the applicant isn't there yet. I mean,
Changing an ordinance?
Pardon me, a zone.
Okay.
Yeah, but the applicant isn't there yet. I mean, so.
Well, if you were to approve the zone change, it would be only under conditions that he met all of those requirements.
The zone change does not become effective
Right,
until the
until-
record of survey is recorded.
Yeah, and that might take 30, 60, 90 days. We don't know, but it will not go into effect unless he does those things that we conditions.
Yeah, I would
So-
suggest that we don't amend our official zoning map or anything until we've got that documentation.
I would just like to add really quickly too, that is pending that the contiguous lot ordinance is approved through the planning commission and city council.
There's a way to legally do this without having that. I mean, there's a way to
Yeah,
do
it's
it now.
pending. It's pending.
We just have never clarified in our ordinances how you merge 2 lots.
And
or
that's
2
what
parcels
we've
together,
done.
And that's
That's-
what we're trying to do. State law says that it can be done.
Mhm.
So we're
Yeah.
trying to.
Staff, we're just trying to not assume the vote of council.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
So the question is looking at the purpose of a multiple use district. Some of it reads to protect the indigenous natural beauty of those areas and to protect the open space resources and where appropriate, for grazing, where appropriate for grazing, agriculture, wildlife habitat, and recreation, and to minimize water pollution, soil erosion, danger from brush fires, and damage to grazing livestock. So my concern is with the fact that Jake refused to accept eliminating a conditional use item that Councilman Joey Campbell presented at the last meeting. I would lead me to believe that whatever the plans are in that area, that it doesn't necessarily meet the multiple use district with respect to protecting the land and keeping it open. So.
And I understand what you're saying, but there has been no application made at this point.
Right,
Until,
that's-
so I mean,
right.
it might go to MU20 and stay that way for all eternity.
Well,
So
also, let me give you a little explanation if for some reason the zone change was approved. But then 2 months from now, we amend our MU ordinance to eliminate that questionable conditional use. They would be subject to not being able to do that conditional use unless they had a pending site plan submitted for, if we're concerned that it's going to be an RV park. Unless and until they've submitted an application in reliance upon that use, they're subject to any change that happens in the MU20 zone. They have the zoning, but they recognize that even within zones, certain uses can come and go, and you're vested right truly until you get the final land use approval to do the actual development or construction to go vertical with type thing. They're not vested in that sense. So I have to tell you, I mean, obviously I would agree. My reading, I completely agreed with Ty. I read the purposes of the MU20 and I read a couple of those conditional uses. I think,
They contradict.
how did they get in there over time? But they are there. And I think that we do need, and I think we've instructed Riker to look at that and suggest some changes, but that doesn't really affect this application that had been applied. But we do have some, I guess, applicant needs to know just getting it changed to MU20 doesn't fully vest them until they are ready to submit an actual like subdivision or commercial site plan type for approval.
Just for my clarification, the permitted uses I see, the conditional uses, the council has the authority to either approve or deny any one of those conditional uses, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And then my second question is under the conditional uses, how do you define, Heath, the private park or recreational grounds or facilities, private camp or resort, including accessory or supporting buildings or dwelling complexes, which are owned or managed by a recreational facility? I mean, how do we ascertain RV park out of, because I see two separate things.
Yeah, okay, so I went back through the specific conditional use that the council seemed to be concerned about last meeting was this conditional use. It's called private park or recreational grounds or facilities or private camp or resort, including accessory supporting buildings or dwelling complexes which are owned or managed by the recreational facility and under unified control. Now, I go back to the definitions. We don't have a definition of a private park. We don't have a definition, but we do have a definition of recreational facilities. Includes conventional playgrounds, baseball fields, basketball courts, tennis courts, handball, swimming pools, fitness centers, weight rooms, and 9 or 18-hole golf courses. But we also have a definition of commercial recreation, the use of property for recreational facilities operated as a business and open to the general public for a fee. So I say that's what a commercial is. So a private can't be charging for a fee. But we don't have it clearly defined. So to answer your question, I think an applicant would have an argument, unless we amend our ordinance to make it very clear, to somehow eliminate that or modify it to a better defined term. They could try to make the argument that it includes RV parks. I think that's contrary to the definition of dwellings that say that you can't put more than one dwelling on a 20-acre parcel because it says it doesn't include recreational vehicles, trailers, tents, or RV parks.
Was my next question. So if we have a single family dwelling on this 20 acres,
Mhm.
like the code
Mhm.
says,
Mhm.
what is applicant or anybody allowed to do as far as the permitted uses if they already have a single family dwelling on the 20?
Well, they could take down the dwelling, I guess.
Right, but then they would have to come here, up here before the council to do
Well,
all
it's a
that, or-
condition, it's a conditional use, so they'd
Right.
have to get a full-blown conditional use permit.
Okay,
And they can't apply for that until they've got the zone changed.
right.
All I'm saying is that if we don't like this and we say, I've always said, if we want to make an approval of a zone change condition on elimination of one of the conditional uses, we can do that. It's a completely legislative function you guys are doing here. You have almost complete discretion as a council.
And then for Jake, around the proposed MU 20 changes, the property around those are already MU 20, correct? So like Mr. Benz and some of the other properties are already MU 20.
I'll let them answer themselves.
Okay. So, okay.
All right, so we had a discussion on this.
I see on the application the required consideration to approve a zone change, which is to be considered by both the planning commission and city council. And they list 4 items here, and I can't answer yes or no to any of these 4 items because I have no idea what the intent is. So I don't know if the intent is revealed. I can't assume it's an RV park,
Mhm.
but I just think the applicant needs to be aware that, you know, it should be, the general plan is to be taken into account. And the general plan right now has that shown as a residential area. And that it has to be in harmony with the overall character of the existing development in the vicinity of the subject property. I can't answer that one. And it cannot, the proposed amendment may adversely affect the adjacent property to it and the adequacy of the facilities with respect to the need for police, the need for fire protection, wastewater, and water drainage systems. So these are all questions that were on the application that the applicant completed. I don't know how to answer these 4 questions because it depends upon what the proposed intent is. So at that point, I would say that the permitted uses would be something that I would have to answer those 2. The conditional ones would lead me to believe it's pretty gray.
Okay.
I'd like to ask further, where do you intend to have your RV parks? If you're gonna take them out of any place.
Don't, it's not.
That's a good question.
Commercial.
Commercial, which commercial areas? All commercial areas?
And you got the time willing?
Highwood neighborhood.
I wouldn't think you'd have an RV park. It's a permitted use.
In a neighborhood commercial, but in a highway commercial, I would definitely think that's more.
It is, I believe it's a permitted
permitted
use
use in
in
It is.
commercial.
Permitted in a commercial area?
In highway commercial,
Highway,
not neighborhood, but highway.
Okay.
correct.
So is that, and I'm not, but so say somebody has
Can you pull up our zones that show where
500
highway
acres,
commercial is
10
now?
miles from a highway out in the middle of the sticks. Are we telling him that's highway commercial or he can't have it? So I'm just, at this point, he couldn't have an RV park because he's not anywhere near the highway.
Unless you interpret MU 20 to mean.
Right. So that's, so if we're not going to allow it in MU 20 in the future, we have to allow it somewhere.
Either way, I would suggest that we amend our MU 20 zone to either say that RV parks, that defined term, because that is a defined one, replace that with this whole thing or eliminate it.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it's really not clear whether
Define
that's,
it or, exactly.
and that's a policy decision.
Is it a
conditional use permit for an RV in an MU20. But if an applicant.
Well, it
It's
doesn't,
not, but it also.
under
also-
conditional uses is this private park,
Yeah, now along
grounds
that,
recreational or private camper resort.
along that lines, Heath,
But if they meet the conditions, then they get the permit.
yeah, but along those lines, Heath, it says, it's spelled out in highway commercial zones. It says recreational vehicle parks. So in our highway commercial zone, it says recreational vehicle parks.
And
That's pretty much defined, but the MU20 doesn't state that. So isn't that our intention to be different?
that is definitely an argument that could be made that was it's
And that's why
intentional.
you're the attorney, not me.
Yeah, and I'm saying, in my opinion,
Yeah.
we don't permit RV parks in the MU20, but I am telling you that this language is loose enough and undefined that if someone got their property zoned or has property zoned MU20, they could make the argument.
Even though we have it defined in the commercial section.
I would argue against it.
Yeah, okay.
But they could make a colorable argument.
Flip the zoning map just to answer the applicant's question. He asked where we do intend to have it. If it's a permitted use in highway commercial. So if you look at the legend up by Anderson Junction, and then there's some down on the south end of the bypass, that's right there. So, which you're familiar with that highway commercial.
You're not wanting RV parks anywhere but highway commercial, is that, you're not replacing this loose language in the MU20 and putting it somewhere else to establish an RV resort or park, whatever you want to call it.
Well, I've always envisioned that possibly there may be a need for a third commercial zone, just general commercial, something other than neighborhood commercial and highway commercial. I would envision that probably in that zone if it was ever created, but I can't
So
say.
we really don't know where
We-
we really don't know the intentions, it sounds like.
I think my problem with the whole thing is if you read, I mean, that's where I was hung up last time. If you read the definition of MU20, what we define is absolutely not what we're promoting with conditional uses, right? Like it's pretty obvious to say.
The
we're
the
defining
purposes don't
open-
match up with the
Yeah,
conditional
like it
uses.
just, it's a miss and it never gets caught because we never move property from high density to low density. It just doesn't really happen. And then the other side of that is like, that's a problem. So I don't like leading somebody down a path where we can't feel like that doesn't look like it's going to work anyways. I have no problem with it going to MU20 because that's what everybody has, but the definition we have of MU20 does not jive with what the conditional uses do not jive with the definition of what MU20 is. And so it's got to be fixed.
Yeah. My only recommendation, regardless how you proceed tonight, is that we work on amending the MU20 zone and those conditional uses ASAP before a conditional use application gets submitted.
Well, what I even think from this conversation, I can't speak for Jake, but if the intention was RV park and they're applying for MU20, and then right now we're telling them like it doesn't fit in there, right? By our definition from legal.
Yeah, not going to be
I don't
my,
even
yeah,
know
I'm going to
if the
recommend that it
applicant would
doesn't
want
meet
to
it.
Spend the
to
time
move
and money.
backwards. Right. Now, quite frankly, as a council and probably as citizens around there, if it stayed as MU20 and the definition of MU20 was met and not in the conditions, that's a win for everybody. But I don't think that's the intention.
It would be in my opinion, it's a big risk for the applicant not knowing what the conditional uses are going to be in the future if the ordinance is changed. So.
You have that Todd right there.
Which one?
The MU20 one.
Yeah,
Daisy has it up, the purposes right there.
This is MU20.
Well, the permitted, I think, fits with purpose, but when we go down to the conditional, I just don't think those things, they don't speak the same.
Right.
I mean, I would even struggle with agricultural industry and related businesses use. I don't know if that identifies agriculture or.
Yeah.
I think there's commercial kennels. I just, those things they're not cohesive.
Scroll up to the purpose.
Daisy, scroll down just a tiny bit further. So that's my, I guess, what I'm getting at, that's my concern. I think the property owner is entitled to MU20 with what everybody else has around it. I think that's a win, but when I just read that, we gotta fix it. So.
So the main question is if the applicant's willing to spend the money to do the zone change and create the parcels.
And then we clean it
knowing
up.
that we're gonna clean the ordinance up and eliminate RV parks out of MU20.
Well, and I think that, Joey, what you said, eliminate RV parks, from what our council is telling us, is he's not even convinced that RV parks are permitted or are a conditional use of that.
Yeah.
So then,
We're amending just to make it very clear.
yeah, I mean, so Daisy down just a little bit further. Sorry. Yeah.
Are those all the conditional uses, Days?
Yeah, that's it right there.
I mean, and I think the applicant would be looking at private park or recreational grounds for facilities, private camp or resort.
Yeah.
So I can see exactly what Keith is talking about. Like, you could define it as a resort.
Absolutely.
And quite frankly, resort doesn't fit in what
Well,
we
we
just
We
described.
just
as the
amended
purpose.
our RV ordinance to say RV resort instead of RV parks. We wanted to make them required to have some amenities to these RV places.
And this says resort, so yeah, you could argue that it's permitted conditionally use in this zone.
And there's arguments to say that the mere fact that we don't use the defined term, but we use it in our highway commercial is the intent of the ordinance. But their arguments is both ways. And that's why I'm saying it's not a bulletproof argument on the city's part unless and until we amend it. So I guess the question
is, Jake, if
Mr.
this,
Campbell asked.
you got MU20 zone change and then MU20 got changed and said no RV parks outright, are you still interested in MU20 zoning?
Well, we would like to hopefully get approved before that happens, I guess.
Well, that's a pretty big, yeah.
And maybe you guys just aren't gonna approve an RV park regardless of the situation down there and just waste some time. So if that's the case, just tell us we can do that. I don't know what you foresee down there. The general plan here is very, very vague as far as Shangri-La goes. You have a map and there's nothing mentioned verbally other than the map. And I always told that map shouldn't be followed for Shangri-La, period, nothing. So I don't know, it'd be great to have some guidance from you guys, what you'd like to see.
Well, what I don't want to see is an approval for an MU20 and have you pay tons of money to change parcels and tear buildings down, and then find out that what the intended use is isn't going to fit. And that is going to be a disaster for you. And that's what I'm trying to take care of.
Well, we won't tear any buildings down until we know that the permitted tenant.
But just changing the legal descriptions on the parcels is a lot of money as well. And so if there's a risk that the applicant wants to take on that, that's fine. I'm just looking out, trying to create a win-win here and not a lose-lose.
Yeah, so I mean, ultimately, the plan right now is to do an RV park. So we've got some great plans that we will share with you guys when the time's right. But we're reading through everything you guys have. We're trying to follow what's available.
I appreciate that.
Shangri-La is blank. Like I've scoured the general plan. There's no plan at all. And frankly, I'd be furious if I lived out at Anderson Junction and those poor residents out there that seem like everything gets dumped on them. Like Shangri-La is a great place for a lot of things to happen. There's no plan for it at all.
You look at that future zoning map in our general plan and say, how do you go with strict compliance with a bubble map? And if we're going to go strict compliance, we better have a much more detailed future zoning plan.
You know what, I think what it really comes down to is that the city council likes MU20 because the intent that it says is that it's open space, it's preserved land, it's not to be overpopulated and intensely used, right? That's kind of the definition of MU20. But what we're kind of saying is that we think that this is going to be changed before you have time to do that application. This will probably be changed before you actually get to record this as MU20.
So I appreciate that.
That's what we think. That's what I think will happen.
Well,
I don't know how.
I'd go one
planning
step
commission will move
further.
or-
If you're concerned and the intent is, I would if you want to grant him a zone change subject to the applicant agreeing to the condition that there's no RV park, you can do that and he can accept it and accept the zone change and it becomes effective or not. You can restrict as part of your legislative discretion.
Well, the real reality is I don't want somebody to go spend a bunch of money to do that.
That's the way to do it.
Because they're gonna have to spend the money to do all the legal surveying and then not be able to do the RV park if that's changed before. And the reality is that that's probably what can happen.
Well, so that no one's racing to the city offices with the conditional use permit application tomorrow morning or whatever.
It's impossible because they gotta meet the MU 20 requirements first.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say is that to meet the MU 20 requirements is gonna take at least 3 months.
Well, and I think even more direct, it's a conditional use in that they would still have to apply for a conditional use permit. If the council is saying, hey, we don't want RV park down there, period.
And have a site plan
Regardless of
approved.
what legal says, we don't have to approve a conditional use. I mean,
Right.
it is.
There's
then
more,
there's this-
that's more challengeable
Exactly.
because then we're acting administratively, not legislatively on a zone change. Bruce?
Keith, this is me. Question for you. The pending ordinance document is actually yet. You probably get it better than I do. Typically, we're thinking of an ordinance that's a planning commission coming forward to the council.
Yeah.
Is pending.
Case law that's interpreted, Logan versus Western Land Equity, those cases that have come down since then says that the ordinance has to be in writing and has to be has to be truly pending. You have to have a draft of it. And so I would be a little bit, I mean, we can get a draft and everything going. My point is, hey, let's just save this chase to say tonight, if we're going to approve this, or we're going to approve it subject to your willingness to accept an elimination of this conditional use. And then they know that it can't be who's the first to the city offices with an application, or do we have a pending ordinance in play that we can invoke the pending ordinance doctrine? Just do it that way.
Can you delay this until I'm not in a position to make this call, so I need you guys to delay this decision to the end of the meeting tonight, if you can. So I
We
can
could table it.
Yeah.
We could table it for 2 weeks without any
Can
issue.
you just table it for a few, till the end of the
That's
agenda?
mayor's decision.
You're the chair. You
I
can
have no problem with
move it to the
moving
end.
this from item 4, move it down past item 7. So, yeah, it's probably gonna take 20 minutes is all. So we'll move this item down. All right, thank you, Jake. We're gonna move on to item 5, discuss the possible action of resolution, International Dark Sky Week proclamation. Manny, you wanna get up and talk to us about this?
You guys, the council want me here.
If you've got somewhere you gotta go, we'll let you go.
Okay.
So.
Thank you, Bruce.
I'll go pick up that milkshake that I ordered.
Yes, and hopefully it's still there waiting. It's only been 2 hours.
I missed out on that. I ordered a milkshake. Better before I came. I'm waiting. I can't wait longer, so I drive off.
That's funny.
They didn't get my milkshake.
That's a funny story.
So Manny, does this have anything to do with your observatory?
Not really, no. Although.
That's it, which I think, even with that, I'm concerned with that. It's not like-
So thank you for bringing this item.
It's on.
On the agenda. International Dark Sky Week is an annual event that is to raise public awareness for the negative impacts of light pollution, and there are solutions that exist. In fact, when we talk about different kinds of pollution, this is probably one of the easiest kinds of pollution to tackle. You just turn lights off, or you use them in appropriate ways, such as only the amount that you need, only in the places that you need, and so on. So it's really a public awareness matter. The proclamation, as such, for those that are not familiar with proclamations, they don't have legal effect or anything. They're just basically to raise public awareness and to present it to the public. So I did want to mention that, in fact, I was alarmed that recently it was learned that the rate of increase of light pollution in Europe is about 6% a year. In the United States, it's about 10% a year, 10% a year, which is huge. So, vast number of people in our country can't even see the Milky Way that, our solar system is part of. So that's the purpose of the proclamation, and it's pretty simple here. I don't know if you want to. I think everyone's had an opportunity.
I
to see.
reviewed it and I put it into our standard resolution form, kept all of your
Okay.
whereases.
Thank you.
And no, it's like you said, it's a proclamation. It's a resolution proclaiming that we're going to treat in Tokerville the week of the 15th through the 22nd as International Dark Sky Week, and just suggest to residents that we learn more about light pollution, that we learn and become better educated about our dark sky ordinance, which is a component of our lighting ordinance, and that we look for ways to help reduce light pollution. That's what it says.
Is there certain, is that time period reflected, like some kind of event?
Like a lunar event or?
No, but it is an internationally recognized event. So in fact, almost all 50 states, also Washington DC and Puerto Rico, are deliberating on these proclamations for recognizing International Dark Sky Week, and also Australia, Canada, Mexico, Italy. For this specific week. So it's an opportunity to focus people's attention worldwide on the issues of light pollution and preserving our skies. And I think we're very advantageously situated because we have 5 national parks in the state of Utah, and all 5 of those have been recognized as International Dark Sky Parks. So I think it's a wonderful
Actually, we
thing.
have a total of 20 parks according to the paper. 20 parks, including state and local parks.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so I think this is great. Is there something we can do on our website? Just put a thing up there?
Well,
and we're
the
gonna.
other thing
okay.
is the entrance to town on both ends. If we could have our signs.
Oh, that's a great idea
Yeah,
for that week.
posted up
not
there.
have it flashing.
International.
Our
Just-
message sign.
We'll
Those big
put
bright
the big
signs.
flashing lights.
Flashing lights.
Dark
Yeah,
sky. No problem.
We proclaim it, we might as well follow it.
Fine, instead of flashing through the
great.
speed limit.
Put
we're
it
not-
on-
be dim.
Put it on the website, and then that week we could turn those
Flash
signs
them
on.
slow that way.
Yeah, put it on there, something like, we're going dark.
Yes. We're gonna stay transparent though.
I move
Okay.
that we go ahead and approve the resolution on business item F5, International Dark Sky Week.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion on this item? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion carries. All right, item number 6, discuss some possible action, uniform fee schedule, renaming the farmer's market to neighborhood market, and updating the vendor fee, updating home occupation permit to license. So more house cleaning.
Yes, and with this, what we actually want to do, even though people say we never reduce fees, what we want to do is we were able to eliminate the overhead for the home occupation licenses. And so we just want to reduce them from the 125 because we don't have the administrative overhead that we did before. We want to reduce it from the 125 to 50 to match what we do for business licensing. So that's
So a reduction
the
there.
request.
Better name than home occupation.
That's the states.
Yeah, really?
Yeah.
It's kind of like when the guys break in your house and take over.
Yeah.
Kind of
Right.
sounds like it, doesn't
Yeah.
it?
As long as they don't take over, one bedroom and have no outside traffic.
State land use code uses that
I
term.
know,
home
I know.
occupations.
Yes, I'm ready.
Mayor, I'd move that we approve business item 6.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on this item? All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Thank you.
Motion is approved. Item 7, discuss the possible action to pursue an FCC radio license for Tocqueville City Emergency Communication. So, Mr. Bentz has built a radio tower, and The FCC will not give him a license, but they will give the city of Tokerville a license. So we could use this in emergency times. We could use it for broadcasting.
Ray's here if you want to
Yep.
speak about where you are in that process.
Sure, come on up.
The FCC is not giving any more licenses to individuals unless you're a commercial radio station. So the cities are allowed to have them, like Hurricane has one.
Yeah.
And from what I'm gathering, you can almost do anything you want. It doesn't have to be for an emergency. It could be running 24/7. You can put your agendas on it. You could run church over it. You could do whatever. The only thing you can't do is you can't charge commercially.
Yeah.
You can run ads, but you can't charge for those ads. However, you can charge a fee for the cost to run the radio station. So you almost have carte blanche. Now, they do limit to the city's
The power, right,
the
how
power
much
to
wattage.
around the city's
Yeah.
boundaries.
So real quick, Heath, what's the legality on Grandma if something goes out over the city radio station? Is that liable for any kind of?
Oh, yeah. If it's our license, I think we need to limit it only to emergency response purposes and stuff like that. I don't think that we're in the business. We would have liability under the Governmental Immunity Act. That would be what is considered a non-governmental function, like operating a radio station. And so if there was someone who claimed that something that was broadcast was libelous or slander, they could sue the city, and we can't throw up our governmental immunity claim because that is not a core government function. It's things that cities deal with, like golf courses. Is that a key governmental function? They argue it's a recreational purpose, but for St. George City, it's making big money, but someone gets hit with a golf ball. Do they get sued? Yes, they do. So, I would say, I think it's great. I think it's a great aspect if we wanted to use it to transmit reading water meters or do it just for emergency response purposes. But having the license, if it's not incredibly expensive and something that takes a lot to maintain, obviously Ray owns the tower, we would own the license. And Ray, you would probably own the equipment that would
Well,
transmit.
it's already there. We bought a commercial transmitter
Okay.
for a radio station.
Okay.
We have the antennas up. They're testing that now.
Okay.
Tower's still got to be permitted, but we're waiting on engineers to do their portion of for the permit.
Okay.
That was under the conditional use of MU20.
Okay.
But for an emergency, it would be incredibly valuable.
Yeah, I
I mean,
agree.
because you could direct people, you could do things that, other than having everybody with their personal radio.
Yeah.
Which frequency range are you looking?
Well, I mean, the FM, so you
Yeah,
would
but
say,
there's
dial in on
five-
92.7 FM on your radio dial.
There's 5 banks that you have, I just barely got one. So there's 5 banks that you have to specifically apply for. Do you know which bank is?
I don't know, there's, the people I'm working with will meet with the city and tell them how to do it. I just,
No, they won't.
well, I mean, they will tell you how to apply for the license. Then it's the FCC that tells you what you can do.
Yeah.
So
I
at this
mean, they
point, we're
pick the
just,
frequency.
yeah, at this point, we're just wondering if the city's like open
Be an
for.
FM station.
Yeah, it's FM.
Do we have any idea on the expense of?
Yeah, what is the cost
This
of
is the
life?
first discussion we're having.
It's like $700 to get it, that's it. So it's a long process, a lot of back and forth things, but the frequency that they're gonna probably assign is, the cheapest radio that you're gonna get is like $1,000. It's gonna go more than 2 or 3 miles through that antenna.
Are you talking about transmitter or are you talking about?
Both. Like-
He's got a
Transmitter already
transmitter.
costs. I've already
He's already got a
transmitter.
transmitter.
No, on the other end. So like if you want to use your repeater or your antenna to communicate with somebody here, the other portion of that radio here is going to be at least $1,000. So every other radio.
Yeah, but I think the idea,
About something different.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think the idea would be that if we had a recording, we could record it, email it to Ray. Ray would put it on the radio. We wouldn't do it from
Yeah,
here.
we could
That-
actually automate that. It is made for the FM radio dial. This is not a commercial radio.
Or a two-way communication.
No,
It's
this
not
is just,
two-way
no,
communication.
no.
But this is something like we could put on our warning board that says, hey,
No.
tune to 103.1.
Exactly.
We have some
live
catastrophic events
Exactly.
happen, and everyone knows they tune to this and they get directions where to go. Don't go north, go
Right.
south.
Yeah.
Don't,
FM 104.5 is Hurricane's emergency station. You get in the car, you turn to 104.5, you hear what they say.
I'm sorry, I meant to, thought we were going for two-way communication.
Oh,
And in
no.
fact,
We're not pilots.
I just finished it, so that's where my brain was, I'm sorry.
Right.
What was your intention when you put that up originally?
Benefit the city.
This exact purpose is what he was thinking.
Yeah.
And then I say go for it.
Is that a motion?
Yeah.
And we have a
I think we
second?
probably ought to make a motion to not exceed a dollar amount.
So Ray, do you have any idea what this would cost the city? Under $1,000?
I don't know. We have to, FCC's changed some things,
Okay.
but they are making it easier for cities and towns because of all this going on these days.
Okay.
Ray, would we be required to pay some fee to these consultants to process the license application through the
I think
FCC?
it's something that you have to do.
Okay, something we
The
do.
city has to do it, not them.
Okay,
Now, he's just gonna come in and tell you what you need to do, but you have to apply.
okay.
Because it's not a commercial radio. station.
Yeah, so besides the application fee, say, we don't know what that is, but a two-way was $700, just normal. And some staff expense to kind of push it through, I'm guessing $3,000 or something to get that license. Possibly, and a lot less to renew it. I don't know how long the licenses last for, but if it's every 5 years.
Can we consult
I know-
with Hurricane?
Something that goes in your emergency planning process.
Yeah.
Sure, you can get a grant.
Hey, do we have any COVID funds left? Oh, shoot.
Well, the majority of the cost is already covered.
Yeah, he's got the tower up.
Yeah.
He's got the
I think it's
transmitter. He's got
a lot of, most cities have
Right.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you put a,
I don't see an issue. We do not have COVID funds, but I don't see an issue pulling it from the unrestricted.
right.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I think there's some money. We have a finding of extra money, so we can throw a little bit towards
To
this.
recognize it as part of the budget amendment in June, but if you want to do a not to exceed of 5,000.
If we put a dollar, like, you've obviously done way more research than the rest of us in this. If we put a dollar amount on it, not to exceed, what would you anticipate that being?
Well, I would say at least, I would say 5, but I think it's gonna be less than that.
Okay.
But I do know that Homeland Security is pushing for these things. And so they're trying to make it more, now, you could meet with Hurricane and talk to their emergency
Yeah.
services.
Yeah,
And-
we can do that. Well, let's,
I'll tell you what, I'll
Yeah.
make a motion to approve business item F7 with an expenditure up to $5,000, not to exceed $5,000. And if it does, just come back and we'll discuss that.
Yeah, see what it takes. And
Second.
if we need to do a fundraiser or more, I don't think it's gonna be more. Like I say, they're trying to encourage
Okay.
cities to do this.
perfect. We have a second, and we have a motion and a second.
Roll
Any other
call.
discussion on this? Roll call, start with Joey.
Aye.
All right. Motion is approved.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Ray. All right, we're back to item F4 is Jake. While we're waiting for Jake, we're going to go through our calendar events. So we have our Easter egg hunt coming up on Saturday, April 8th. And as Afton said, it's 9:30 for the bigger kids, ages 13 to 17 for the golden egg. And then at 10 a.m., all the other smaller kids get to search for all the goodies they're going to have. And then Tocqueville City Farmers Market, our first one is May 20th. Are we calling that neighborhood market now? So I'll change that real quick. So neighborhood market, we just changed that. Neighborhood market, May 20th at City Hall. And it's going to be the third Saturday of every month through October. So, and then our 4th of July celebrations coming up, of course, on Tuesday, 4th of July. We'll be doing a breakfast. And I think
starting that.
we're going to start it
Right
at
there.
5 a.m.
Perfect. I'll be there.
7, 8, I think it starts at 7 a.m.
7 a.m.
7
And
a.m.
Afton, are we doing what we did last year?
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah, the booths and all the fun stuff that we did last year. That was one of
What
the
about
best.
Like that, it's still going to be free to the public.
Yeah.
Where, yeah, it'll still be completely free, just like what we did last time. And they are adding an element to this year that will be really, it'll be awesome. It has some classic cars. We're going to have some people from Tokerville, and they're going to have a crawl where they're going to have to come down. They're going to come down the hill from over by Troy Walls and then into the park, but they have to cross the finish line over the timeline, and they don't know what the time is, but they're going to have to come down the hill, and they have to cross. So when they cross the finish line, they have to be over, like say it's whatever, if it was supposed to take them, we'll say 10 minutes, because I know that's way off, but then they would come over. So whoever's over 10 minutes, but the closest to it, will get it. So it's going to be really fun, but that's going to be with classic cars and stuff. And there will be prizes for that. And so anyway, that's going to be at, I think 9:30, but the rest of it's going to be the normal pots and pans for the kids and all that.
So Afton, if you need to help staff any of those booths, please let me know.
Yeah, it'll be good. And we're going to do, we'll do again, that frozen t-shirt contest. We're going to do the watermelon eating, and we're probably also going to do like a pie eating this year. We're talking about, so I think it'll be fun.
While Merlin's here, we're
What's
gonna have
that?
a fire truck out there for us again this year?
I will not promise you, but we'll put it on the thing. Just put it on
Wonderful.
Yeah, they're great.
But what, you're starting at 7 to what, to noon?
It'll just till when we're done.
Whenever we're done.
Run out of prizes or whatever.
We'll be right at 7, but we'll come over. I'll put 7, but what time is
Yeah, last time you guys were here about like 10:30, and it was perfect. So
And it was actually perfect because we got to watch Afton run up the hill chasing the fire truck. So that was just right.
And then what about fireworks? Is it the same as?
We're probably going to do the
resolution
same
this year?
resolution. Yeah. Only have, this year we'll have extra tall grass. We'll have all sorts of stuff, it won't get warm enough.
Mayor, while you're on those
Yes.
items, for staff, our signs are getting very close to the white line on the UDOT right away. Probably need to be mindful of the clear zones so we don't have an issue.
That's 30 feet.
Yeah. where it's on private property. And the only time it noticed me and I got a call is the one that we had right here on coming into town.
Yeah.
It was really tight. And so I had got a couple calls on that. So
are you talking about when we moved it for the spring social too?
yeah, right. So
in front of Nagley's.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't know what you're talking about. What?
I understand.
And
Yes, the wind blew it there. So just
Okay.
as we place those, let's be a little bit careful.
Okay.
Okay, sorry, Mayor. Thank you.
No, you're good. All right, we're back to item F4. Jake.
Thank you. We would like to table that.
Okay. A motion to table it?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion is tabled. All right, if we have nothing else to discuss, Heath, we're good with you. We adjourn this meeting at 7:33.
We didn't have